we don't have a weird echo on my end because that happens sometimes. Welcome everybody to Nosh and Schmooze. And we have a very special episode today. We're here with Andi Katz, psychologist and cake designer, cake artist. And we're going to be talking about growing up Jewish in Germany today. So if you have any questions, as always, feel free to post them in the comments on Facebook and I will field them to Andi. But first, a little bit about my guest today. So originally from Richmond, Virginia, Andi went to Germany after receiving her bachelor's at VCU to do a gap year as an au pair. After that, she decided to learn German and then went to do a master's in psychology at LMU in Munich, where she met her ex-husband, an Israeli. They had 2 kids, and life just happened, and suddenly 1 year turned into 14. After years of trying to ground herself in psychology and going through a difficult divorce alone with 2 small boys, she discovered a passion for baking and decorating cakes. In Germany, if you want to make and sell cakes, you have to have a master pastry chef title. So she's looking into apprenticeships. Andi believes one is never too old to start or learn something new. So thank you so much for joining us today, Andi.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
And I actually haven't seen you in so many years. We went to camp together growing up, and we also went on USY on Wheels. And that was such an incredibly Jewish experience. And now you're living in Germany where there's not so many Jews.
Yeah.
So where in Germany are you?
I'm in Munich, which is in southern Germany.
And and I know your boys attend Jewish day school.
Mm-hmm.
How old are
they? 7 and 5.
So that sounds like a lot. I have 2 kids myself. So what has that process been like for you as a single Jewish mom living in Germany? I guess putting Jewish culture into their lives.
Well, it hasn't been easy, but it's because there isn't really a sense of Jewish community in Germany compared to the US. It's basically, or I basically rely on their Jewish education from school, and I try and do whatever I can at home to teach them about, like, we celebrate holidays at home, we do Shabbat, light candles, and, I make challah and try and do my best at home. But and also, thankfully, because of their school, they have, most of their friends are also Jewish, which is also a plus. So they do get some exposure, which is nice.
So how many kids are at their school?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think in the whole school, the school is pretty big in the sense of, because there's also a kindergarten, but the Jewish school is, it's also open to non-Jews. But I'm sure there's like a quota of it having to be, I think, I don't know, maybe 50% Jewish or 75% Jewish. I don't know. But there's also a middle school and a high school, or like elementary, middle, and high school all together there. So I'm guessing in total, maybe 150 to 200, maybe. Mm-hmm. So not so big.
So how would you say, your experience growing up in Richmond, Virginia, and being a part of Jewish youth group and things like that, and camp, how would you say your experience is different from your boys at this point?
Well, I think so Richmond, Virginia, I think it has about 10,000 Jews, maybe more. But I really got a sense of community. Like, even at my high school that I went to, which was public, it was just a regular public school, there were still so many Jews, in my class. And I remember when I first came to Germany, I had, so my first apartment, my roommate had never met a Jew before. And it's just like, it's hard to even think, like, it's like never having met, someone from Asia, or never having met somebody, like, you just, that wouldn't happen. That doesn't happen in the US, and for them, I think that, because they have youth groups here. It's just like for older kids, and but still it's on a very small scale. So I think that I think it's more of like a population thing, that because we don't have such a large community, Jewish community, and it's not as close knit as I found, it to be in the US. I think it's, you have to really try and how do you say, like, go after, like, be active, like, if you want to be more involved, then you have to make that effort yourself to try and organize something, or and in the US it was just much more easy, it just, things were already available and easily accessible for youth groups. You just sign your kid up, it's just, things were offered. And here too, but it's just on a much lower scale.
Right. In a way, it makes me think of someone who's born into a religion versus like someone who converts. And, if you're born into it, it's just all around you, all the time, and you don't have to put too much effort in. Whereas, someone who actually wants to convert, like, you got to earn it.
Yeah.
So in that sense, are you a citizen in Germany?
No, I'm not. I would have to give up my American citizenship, and for me, it's still too valuable. So, presidents come and go, but still, maybe one day I might need it, or and also if I give it up, it would be really hard to get it back. So, plus the only reason why I would need to be a German citizen is if I wanted to vote. Which I don't feel the need to. So it's not so important. Yeah.
So I'm curious, what drew you to Germany in the first place?
Well, so during my bachelor's, I actually had a German boyfriend in the States. And so I had been to Germany a few times with him to visit his family. And but then like, we had broken up before I even, like, maybe a year before I even went to Germany, like moved to Germany. But I had already had that exposure, and I had already made some friends in Germany, and I loved that Germany was very central in Europe, and you're just surrounded by all these other countries, and it's just, very, like, traveling is very easily accessible to, going to other countries. It's like going to a different state, you just cross the border, and, so, yeah, I decided after my bachelor's to do a little gap year, just to have a break from studying before doing my master's. And then, yeah, when I came as an au pair, I wasn't ready to go back. And I just thought, well, why not learn German and then continue? Because university here is free. So you could even go to medical school for free. So
wow.
Have your kids start learning German now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to be a citizen. You just get to go to school that's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you feel, because, I imagine your roommate wasn't the first person you've met in Germany, that you've been their first experience with a Jewish person. Do you feel in some ways like you have to act as like an ambassador to of the Jewish people when you meet people like that in Germany?
Not really. Like, I'll wear my Jewish star, like my Star of David, out in public. I don't hide it. Like, I don't yell in the streets that I'm Jewish, but I also don't hide it. And I have come across, I've had some incidents where like I was on the metro a few years ago, and it was very full, and I was standing like not even a yard away from this elderly woman. She must have been mid 80s, and she just kept looking at my star and looking up at my face and just being like scoffing, and just was very disturbed. And honestly, it didn't bother me because, and I smiled because I thought, that's right, times have changed. You can do nothing about this situation. Like, I have every right to be here. And then so I got off before her, and I just said in German, I said to her, have a nice day. And I just, but I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think people are very eager to learn, actually, because many Germans don't really know that much about Judaism. And I think, and in my experience, the people that I've met who I've told that I'm Jewish, they ask questions, they're curious, and so of course I want to shine a good light on Judaism, and yeah, I think it's great though that I mean, I've never had any real negative reactions to people, at least not directly firsthand. So
I think it's interesting that the one that you mentioned is with someone that, is not of our generation, and that, hopefully your boys would never encounter something like that. Do you feel like you've had to have conversations with them about, the Holocaust and stuff like that, and how that all came to be, or not yet?
I mean, I have had conversations with them about it, but more not because of anti-Semitism, or like, I think it was just curiosity coming from them, and also about like, for example, when it was like Yom HaShoah, like Holocaust Day, like I just thought it was important for me to tell them like what the day's about. And I didn't go into too much detail, but it was basically saying about, a long time ago that there were Nazis who wanted, to kill the Jews, and and that 6 million Jews died, and many other people, and not just Jews, but also Germans, anybody who tried to help the Jews. And that, because I also think it's important for them to understand the history of Germany regarding the Jews, and why it's so important for us to practice and observe, and hopefully they will have a strong Jewish identity as I do, because it was always important for me to marry a Jew. And although living in Germany, I've become less observant as I used to be, it's still very important to me. So I do think that this conversation is important for them, but I think, I mean, since they're still so young, I think we'll have that conversation again when they're older.
Right. My understanding is that the like school system in Germany, that like some kind of Holocaust education is required, probably more so than in Virginia. Do you know anything about that?
I do, and I know that they learn it in school. And someone told me that in the past, like even 10 years ago, it was much more, let's say, drilled into the kids. Yeah. And that maybe the past 10, 15 years, it's not as much as it used to be before. And although it is, I'm sure, enough. Yeah. But I also know that on TV, there are a lot of documentaries that are continuously shown about just different topics regarding the Holocaust. And yeah, I mean, it's a definitely a big part of the education.
Mm-hmm. And I have some photos here that I can share. Hold on. 1 moment. Desktop. There we go. Okay, so this is your boys, right?
Yes, those are my boys.
And where are they right in this picture?
So that's in front of, so the building behind is the synagogue. And that's the main synagogue in the city. It's the biggest one. It's also, you can't see it in that photo, but the building across from the synagogue is the Jewish Community Center. And it's also where the school is and kindergarten.
Uh-huh. Cool. And what are they holding in this picture? I'm curious.
Okay, so actually the boy next to Gilad. So Gilad is the one with the green shirt on. That's my son, and the other boy next to him is his friend. So he's not my son. But in Germany, there's a tradition. It's called a Schultüte, which is like a school tote bag thing. And you, on the first day of school, like the parents stuff it with like school supplies and sometimes sweets like candies and or some toys sometimes, and then they take it to school with them, and they have different motifs, like different themes. Like his is like from the movie Cars, and girls could get like the Frozen theme, like Elsa, and like they have all different types of themes, but sometimes they also decorate them themselves, and it's just like a German tradition that you on their first day of school they take it with them.
That's so cute. I love that. And these are some cakes that you made. You are so talented. How did you get into that?
Actually, so during my divorce, actually, I had started baking, and it started with my oldest son's birthday cake because his birthday is in November, and he wanted me to make him a Avengers themed cake. And it was a challenge for me, and because I had usually just, when I made a cake, it was like I would make it and then like put decorations on top that I had bought, and so I set out to do it myself, and that was like the beginning of the divorce. And so I really enjoyed that, kind of like sparked my interest, and I really enjoyed making it and the creative challenge, because I've always been creative and artistic and was always painting or had some sort of artistic project going on. Just I always loved doing like or challenging my creative side. And so then I started baking and decorating cakes for fun, because it was basically my therapy. And then I made one for a friend, and then for like at like a dinner party, and then one of her friends wanted a cake from me, and then it just kind of spiraled, word of mouth, and and then now I'm making like 2 cakes a week at least. So
and they're nice. All different. That's so fun.
Yeah, that's the best part, because it's not like doing the same thing over and over again, and every cake is different, which makes it fun and interesting.
You're the cake lady. Who knew that would happen?
I would not have guessed that in like 5 years ago. Definitely not.
I would not have guessed that you would be, living in Germany.
Me either. Me either. Definitely not.
Do you think that you'll always live there, or do you have, aspirations of moving back to the US at some point?
So I would love to, but realistically, I'm pretty much stuck here because, because their dad is here and I can't just take my kids to the US. So, so unfortunately, looks like I'm stuck. But I mean, we can still, still have vacations, and that's actually the hardest part about living in Germany is, although life is very good here, I'm happy here, I'm comfortable. I still don't feel like it's home even after 14 years, but I'm happy here and life is good. But going home, it's always a wonderful, wonderful thing, because being away from my family, it's been so hard, and I see them on average maybe once a year if I'm lucky, or once every 2 years, and but it's definitely not enough. So, and especially with my parents getting older, I feel like I'm missing out on precious time with them. And like my sister had a baby last year, and I'm not involved in their lives, and like my kids, like they don't really get to see them that often, and I miss that sense of family, and Thanksgiving dinners, and I miss out on all that stuff, which is it's hard, but my kids speak 3 languages, so there's that.
That's incredible. So is it that your ex-husband speaks Hebrew with them, you speak English with them, and they speak German with everybody else?
Yes, exactly.
So I feel like they probably catch on to Yiddish fairly quickly if they heard it.
Probably, yeah.
Which is so interesting because they probably have a better grasp of Yiddish, than, I don't know, that's just, I imagine, not something that's widely spoken in Germany these days.
Actually, well, not among, I don't know anybody who speaks it in their home, like anyone secular. Like, I know that the Orthodox community here, most, or a lot of them speak Yiddish at home.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's also a Chabad here, and
right.
And I know that that family, and many others also speak Yiddish at home.
That's so cool. The synagogue that that picture was taken in front of, would you equate that with like a certain sect of Judaism, like conservative or reform?
Well, it's Orthodox,
Mm-hmm.
and what's interesting is that most synagogues in Germany are Orthodox. So in Munich, there are 3 Orthodox synagogues and 1 Reform. And it's interesting because when you go to the Orthodox synagogue, it's separated with men and women are separate. And but then you have, on Rosh Hashanah, it's so interesting to see, you have the very secular Israelis who show up in jeans, and then you have, of course, the Orthodox community, but then you have also conservative, and because you don't really have a choice. It's not like you have conservative, like in the US. And
right.
So it's basically a mixture of everybody at a Orthodox synagogue.
That's really cool. So obviously wherever you go in the world, you're going to meet Israelis. They're just everywhere. Would you say there's a good amount of Israelis within the Jewish population of Munich or in Germany?
There's, I think, last I heard, I think in Munich, there's like 700 Israelis. And a lot of my kids' friends are Israeli, and like a lot of the kids who go to school, or like their parents, or at least one of the parents is Israeli and they married a German, or both Israeli parents came from Israel and, because of work, they came to Munich, or, but, and also all of the, at all the schools, there's 2 Jewish kindergartens, and the Jewish school and all the synagogues have security, and they're all from Israel.
Of course. Yeah.
So and most of them are like straight out of the army, and they're like, it's a security job for, but it's interesting that their contracts are like, they're brought from Israel, which is, I think it's great. And the kids love talking with them, and yeah, they're all nice. So
yeah. Interesting. So here, hold on one moment. So yeah, you spoke a little bit about how, it's a little bit alienating that you're over there and your family is in the US. I imagine that COVID may have, the pandemic has exacerbated that. Have you, how has life changed for you in Munich with the pandemic?
Well, we've been on lockdown for a long time. There were a few lockdowns, and the first one lasted, I think, like 3 months. And when I say lockdown, I mean like everything is closed, like except for essentials like doctors, pharmacies, banks, grocery stores, but restaurants are closed, museums, any place where you like people gather, it's all closed. Like stores are closed. So there's really not much going on, and it's been, I've gotten used to it, and it's actually gotten quite easier because this is just like the new norm.
Right.
It's been like a year, and don't get me wrong, I'm really looking forward to everything going back to normal, like everything opening up again, being able to travel again. But it's been a bit rough. Thankfully, schools are open now. And but yeah, the whole traveling, it's been difficult because last year was supposed to see my family and didn't work out. So yeah, it definitely hasn't been easy, but I also know that it's obviously for the best, and if we want to get past this, then we just have to suck it up and deal with it and just wait for it to pass. So but
Are you allowed to go to parks and things like that outside?
Yeah, we can go to parks, but it's patrolled by police to make sure that people aren't gathering in, like, I think it's you're not allowed to be with more than 5 people from different households. And they patrol, like the parks are full of police, making sure that people are following the rules and everything. But they've been really strict, and I'm actually surprised that things haven't gotten better. They have gotten a lot better, but that it's not where we want it,
Right.
Because wearing masks, and it's mandatory to go into any store or ride any transportation. And also there's some, like, if you want to walk through the city, even just walking through the city, you have to, there's like designated areas, even outside in public, that you have to wear a mask. And there was a curfew of 9 o'clock at night for a few months. And they're really strict, and people follow, you have to follow the laws, so yeah. But
you're seeing that the numbers are going down there, just not where everyone wants them to be.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully with the vaccines coming out, the numbers will go down and down. Are you seeing that people are being vaccinated there?
So it's not actually available to the public people, I've been to regular people yet. It's there are different categories. So if you're over the age of 80, then you can get one. If you work in hospitals, so doctors and nurses, it's available to them. Police, it's available to them. And only, I think it was last week, they started allowing teachers, that it's available to teachers. And of course, it's available to people who have pre-existing conditions like respiratory problems and health issues. But I've registered. You can register online that you want to get the vaccination for when it does become available. Mm-hmm. But it's not mandatory, even for doctors. It's not mandatory. It's for whoever wants to get vaccinated.
Right.
So, and even still, I think they said that maybe by August it'll be available to that I would be able to get it. But so just waiting my turn.
We're all waiting our turn. It's interesting because here in Florida, restaurants are open and Disney World is open, and our numbers are also going down, thank goodness, but also not to the point where they should be. But that's really cool that teachers are high up on that list. We're hoping our teachers are going to get on that list soon too. Cool. Well, this has been so fun. Andi, I wish that you and your boys, I'm grateful that you all have each other right now, because, I'm so grateful my two kids right now have each other that they can play with, especially with my daughter still in virtual school. It's like, I don't know, I'm curious what you've found in this time, being in Germany, and also just in this past year, what you've found, little moments that you can be grateful for in all of this chaos.
Well, definitely that number one, that I have my health and that my kids are also healthy. But I guess just because we're basically stuck at home, we've had more time with each other, which has been nice. And it also, when you hear, other people's stories about having lost their grandparent or their father, or it just makes you, grateful for the things that you have. And thankfully, everyone in my family is healthy and doing well. So, and also, financially, people are struggling. And so, it's been hard for everybody. And, when I think about, oh, I have to stay at home, it sucks. And yes, it sucks, but there are people who are really suffering emotionally and financially and psychologically, and because of this pandemic. And so I'm really grateful for being in a pretty good position compared to others. So it's great that we can have more time with each other, but on the other hand, I'm also looking forward to some normalcy.
Right. Me too. Especially, in a city where it's different when things are a little bit more spread out, and, I don't know, have a backyard or something, or someplace where you can be in and just relax. But I know for, those of us that are living in cities, it's a different experience.
Yes. Oh, I miss having a garden. And that's something that I miss about the US is you have, suburbs, and even in the city, even if you have a townhouse, there's a backyard. I haven't had a backyard in the 14 years that I've been here. So it's something I miss. Yeah. But we have parks. So
it's a beautiful city, right?
It is such a beautiful city. And actually there's a park here called the English Garden, and it's one of the world's largest parks. And
wow.
It's got, like, in summer it's great because there's a river that goes through, and it's so picturesque, and people picnic and they swim in the river. It's from the Alps, so it's like crystal clear and very,
Wow.
very cold, the water, but it's really beautiful, and at least we have that. So
That's incredible. Well, sometime when the world is different, I'd love to come visit you there.
Absolutely. Bring your kids. It is, and actually Munich is the safest city in Germany, and it's very clean, and it's very, like, takes an hour to go to Austria, 3 hours to go to Italy,
Wow.
Czech Republic is like just a few hours away, and I mean France is like 3.5 hours away. Like, it's so convenient. So you should definitely come, and we can do like a little road trip.
Sounds good. I'll be right there. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you everybody for watching. Next week, we're going to have Amy Watchell, the night nurse, talking about reggae music and its influence on Judaism and vice versa. So thank you everybody, and have a lovely week.